Good morning. Good morning. You guys are welcome to show your face or not, but just excited to have you guys. I'll probably wait maybe 30 more seconds just to see if anybody else comes on. I don't know if the email goes to spam or not. Okay, I got another person here. Um, Good morning. So as others jump on, Lord willing, I think they'll be coming on in a little bit. I just wanted to, first of all, thank you and just thank you guys for signing up and being here. I think this is exciting. I don't know how many of you saw my Instagram post with Jim that I posted 2 days ago. Good morning to those of you who just joined. You're welcome to show your face or not. And just so you guys know that I will be recording the call, so no pressure on showing your camera. So, anyways, going back to it, I'm happy to have you guys here. And a couple of days ago, Jim and I recorded a video on Instagram and we put it up, and it was one of the questions that started this whole thing. And it was so, and I think if you guys have read the welcome email that we've had in the newsletter, that I have in the newsletter, that my wife and I moved here. This October 1st is actually going to be 6 years of us moving to Gwinnett. And truth be told, and I don't even know if I've shared this with you yet, Jim. Good morning, Tyler. I don't know if I
Hey, good
shared this
morning,
with you.
Gus.
Yeah, I don't know if I've shared this with you, Jim, but we practically bought our house over Marco Polo because it was in the middle of COVID, and the realtor that we had, because you weren't here yet, Jim, the realtor that we had was kind enough to go to all the houses that we were submitting to him, and we got something that was closer to the areas and the few friends that we had here, and so we picked Lawrenceville. And then having been here now 6 years, the question came up, I was like, should we sell and find somewhere else to move in Gwinnett, because Lawrenceville is not the only city that has amazing things. I've been enjoying Duluth and some parts of Sugar Hill and other places, and that's what started this whole conversation. Is like, okay, should we sell? And are there was it worth it looking into other places in Gwinnett? And so, with that, I want to introduce to you my friend Jim, who I've known probably since 2015, 2016, when I was living in California, and he got invited to a conference that I was a part of, and ever since then, every year sporadically, a friendship continued, and now here we are. We're both living here in Gwinnett, and so that's why I say it's not a lie when I say that this is my friend and somebody that I know and trust. And so, with that, again, Jim, feel free to introduce yourself, add more context if you'd like, and also introduce Tyler to us.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, we love Gus. We love the Gwinnett Best community. Love living in Gwinnett County in general, which is kind of why we're here to talk about just what's going on with Gwinnett housing. My business partner Tyler Hardy's on the call as well. Tyler is a dynamic guy. Lived in Atlanta for a long time. Really knows Gwinnett well. Able to speak to the market, and so we're just thrilled that you guys kind of jumped on to give us about 25 minutes of your time. And our format today is pretty straightforward. We're just going to kind of give an overview to try and answer the question, is now a good time to sell? And try and just get into what's going on in Gwinnett right now, all the stories, all the headlines, all the news, all the media, but what's happening in my neighborhood, your neighborhood, Gus's neighborhood, etc. And then Tyler and I can stay on the call after that to answer any other questions that you might have. So I'm going to share my screen right now. And this PDF is something that everybody's going to have access to where if you have follow-up questions or if you watch this call on demand later on, you can go through it. But we're drilling into the question, is now a good time to sell? And I kind of want to start with something that Tyler and I talk about all the time. You got to answer a question in life, but also in real estate, starting big picture and then drilling down to the small picture. Um, a guy named Ray Brown, who truthfully, nobody really knows where this guy came from, but it gets quoted all the time. The best time to buy a home is always 5 years ago. Well, what Ray's talking about is that if we knew what we knew now 5 years ago, we would have made different decisions. And we don't have a crystal ball into the future, so we're all trying to figure out what should I do and how is this working. So while we don't have a crystal ball and we can't buy houses retroactively, we can kind of get both of our feet on solid ground in regards to what is happening so that we can make concrete decisions, for our life and for our families. So here's just a couple thoughts on what's happening on the macro level in Atlanta. I like to start by looking at Atlanta Metro. And currently in Atlanta Metro, here's the thing. Sale prices are up 6.4% year over year in Atlanta Metro. That's counting all the major counties. Housing inventory, meaning the number of available homes, is up 2.3% from where we were last year. Gwinnett County, for the first time in over a decade, had a slowdown in sale prices, 0.4%. So this is the first time in over a decade that we did not increase in our average sale price. And inventory is up a little more significantly. Part of it's because of new construction, up 15%. And then when you look at your individual city, whether it's Sugar Hill, whether it's Sewanee, whether it's Snellville down south, whether it's Lawrenceville, Buford, wherever it is, there's different dynamics that are happening in all of our different cities. So right now, if you're in Sewanee, housing inventory is going down, which means that prices are going up. Here in Lawrenceville, like Gus said, there was a big inventory surge that's happened over the last 6 months. And so inventory's up. Housing prices are down a little bit in Lawrenceville specifically. We can drill down further into a subdivision by subdivision analysis. And I'll kind of let Tyler jump in after this, but Tyler and I are always talking about who's at the dance when a property goes to market. So I want to use this illustration. Picture me and Gus and Tyler are all in junior high and we're going to the middle school dance together. So the three of us show up at the dance and there's 3 dudes standing there and there's 20 ladies out on the dance floor. Guess what? It does not matter how smart, how athletic, or how good looking Jim, Gus, and Tyler are, because there's only 3 of us and there's 20 ladies, we're dancing on the dance floor. But hypothetically, picture Jim, Gus, and Tyler show up at the dance, but there's 20 other dudes and there's only about 5 ladies. Well, Jim, Gus, and Tyler better be the smartest, the brightest, the cutest, the best personalities. Otherwise, we're just going to be standing there on the sidelines and drinking punch. I use that illustration to say that when your home goes to the dance and you try to sell, you got to look in your micro market and go, who else is at the dance and what condition or what position are they in? Tyler, jump in real quick and talk a little bit about moving, from kind of macro to micro, because you're with sellers all the time. You had to navigate the pandemic dynamics, in Atlanta Metro and in Gwinnett. The thing that Gus was talking about when he bought his house, you've had to navigate 2008 when there was a bajillion homes for sale and nobody was buying them and everything in between. Give us 60 seconds on how you navigate this stuff.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, happy to share my thoughts. The market moves in cycles, and what you're describing is supply and demand. And obviously, since the COVID phase, we actually had very low supply and we saw homes selling really quick. Well, the cycle is obviously flipping to the other side. We're back to 5 month supply of inventory. And so it's kind of like what you said, it's all the additional girls at the dance sort of thing. The challenge is getting your home in front of the buyers that are actually making decisions and getting it off the market. We see a lot of homes that are sitting on the market and getting stale or expiring or being withdrawn. Sellers have been taking their homes off the market at an alarming rate because there's a huge gap. There's the widest gap we've actually had between seller expectations and what buyers are willing to pay right now. And so there is a lot of conversation about kind of trying to see, based on research and looking at the comparable sales and looking at growth rates for certain markets to kind of be in the right trend of that growth. Because if markets moving at a higher pace in certain zip codes or in certain school districts, we want to be aware of that, and we want to bring that knowledge, that information to our client. Whether they have children or not, school districts influence value, and not just right now, but when you need to exit. And so I never want any buyer to go into something without thinking about the end in mind. And so right now we have information overload between AI, and opinions and everything, but real estate is hyper local. And so you really have got to dig down specifically into your local market so that you're making sure you're making very informed decisions with the accurate data.
Well said. So I wanna show you a little more data on Gwinnett specifically and keep drilling down on like your neighborhood, your subdivision, your city. Because a lot of sellers are like, it feels like in such an uncertain time as a seller, also as a buyer. So what do the numbers actually say? Right now in Gwinnett County, it takes an average of 38 days for your home to get a contract. You'd say, well, Jim, is 38 days good? Is 38 days bad? In the peak of the pandemic, 2020 and 2021, the average was between 11 and 15 days. So here we are in a more balanced time frame, and it's taking 38. If you would go back to some of the really, really bad years in Atlanta, you would see average days 90, 120, 108, like you would see long, long, long. So this is still historically in the range of very healthy. We look at something called velocity. It's the ratio of the active properties to the ones that have a contract. And right now, Gwinnett County, all across Gwinnett, it's a ratio of 5 actives for every 1 pending, right? So what that means is that you have 5 properties on the market for every 1 person that has a contract. And that is a very healthy range. Again, in the pandemic, you would have seen 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. Now you're seeing 5 to 1. Months of supply, we're right now at 4.6. 4.6 months of housing supply. Housing supply is healthy and balanced. When you go below 4 months, it's what we call a seller's market, where the sellers absolutely have the advantage. Do you realize that in Gwinnett County, we have been below 4 months of housing supply since 2018? I mean, it's literally, we've been almost a decade in a low inventory environment. So what's happened is we're now balanced, and everybody feels like the sky is falling when the truth is we're actually healthy, we're actually balanced. And here's the real number that I want you to pay attention to, because sometimes sellers feel like, if I try and sell my house, am I going to lose all this money? Right now, the sale price to list price ratio, people are getting 98.7% of what they ask for, which is historically incredibly high. And I'd say, and Tyler can back me up on this, that is including the fact that many sellers right now have the most unrealistic sale prices for their homes, and they're still achieving close to this. Tyler, do you have anything to say about unrealistic sale prices? Because you deal with it every day.
Absolutely. It's a conversation that we're having on repeat, right? Because nobody wants to leave money on the table.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to maximize the exit. And when you look a lot of the sales that are out here, sometimes that seller has put a new roof on, put new windows on, maybe even redone the subfloor on a really older home, replace cast iron drain lines, things that you can't see. but they add value. And then another neighbor in that same neighborhood wants to put their home on the market, but they haven't made all of those improvements, yet they still want the other price of what their neighbor has received on that. So we do see that a lot. And so it's just really kind of educating everybody on what the future maintenance would be on some of these homes compared to the existing product that we're actually discussing.
Now, if you have any questions that are coming to your mind, make a quick note of it because we want to make time for that. But we want to talk about what are some opportunities that are in the market right now because no market's perfect. Sellers loved the market condition of the pandemic because they were guaranteed to get a dance partner. But there was definitely some real disadvantages of making a housing transition at that time. Okay, great, you sold your house, but where are you going to go? Now you have to enter into the feeding frenzy as a buyer. And so the pandemic is kind of getting glorified as this amazing time, but it was an incredibly risky time where people wound up with a lot of homes that they don't enjoy 4 years later. Here's what we got to realize. Buyers finally have options in today's market. You finally have a choice. You're not under the gun of, oh my God, do I have to put a contract on at this moment or is it going to be gone? We have a little bit of breathing room. Yes, there's still competition out there, but buyers have options. That is a really good thing overall, and especially if you're considering a housing transition of any kind, you want those options so that you land in a great house for where your life, where your family, where your future is going, because that's the whole purpose of the transition.
The guy said we can do through the 17th.
No, great. Jump in anytime, no problem. Here's the other good news. Builders have deals. You can still, with certain builders, get 3.99 and 4.99% interest rates in today's market. And it's because new construction builders, they have to keep the sticker price. They won't negotiate it down. But the way that you can negotiate is you can get them to throw money against the interest rate and buy that rate down. And now all of a sudden you're walking out not with a 6.5, but with a 5.5% or a 5% interest rate, and the math really works. I got a couple of great stories from this year and last year of that. And here's what you got to realize. A good looking house is still selling quickly. If you're a seller, sitting on this call and you're kind of like, okay, great, buyers have options, but hey, I got to relocate out of state. Like, what will my house sell? Good looking houses still sell very well because the truth is there's plenty of dated houses on the market not selling. The good looking ones absolutely are selling. Here's the other thing that's happened since the pandemic that's been a real opportunity is that there's transition options that have been created both on the financing side, but also on the construction side to help sellers sell for their maximum value. Two quick examples. There's financing products that allow you to basically buy your future house, and while you get your other house ready to sell, and you only have one mortgage payment the entire time. It completely helps you to avoid getting stuck carrying two houses. The other thing is that there are companies that partner with real estate folks like Tyler and I that actually come in and they bring the financing to actually do renovations on the home to make you that pretty girl at the dance. And then you don't have to pay the contractor until the property sells at the end. So what happens is that you get the most value and the most money for your house, but it helps you from a cash flow situation if you're tight on that front. And then Tyler, I am going to have you comment on this because we wind up talking about this every year. We're going into Q3 and Q4. This is the time of the year where buyers who are shopping during this time, they're not just looking to cruise through houses on a weekend or go through an open house. Buyers who are out in the market right now are serious about buying a house, which is good news if you're a seller. But then at the same time, sellers are more motivated because usually if you're selling during Q3 and Q4, it's because you have an objective in mind. you need to make that lifestyle transition, and it's beneficial for you to do it now versus in the next year or two. Tyler, give us just a couple of your thoughts on this time of the year, Q3 going into Q4, pros, cons, etc.
Oh yeah, like I was saying earlier, with the market moving in cycles, it does look like a bell curve if you look at that chart and that pattern for like the last 12 years. And so the majority of the transactions in our business, about 70%, on many sources that you can look, happen between Q2 and Q3. So it's during that summertime. And so we're kind of at the back end of that wave right now. And so sellers that wanted to sell this year are feeling the pressure to do price reductions, to pay for their sellers' closing costs. The builders are adding even bigger incentives and things like that because they don't want to carry these homes into the fourth quarter, because they know if they carry them into the fourth quarter and it's still on their books and it's not under contract, the likelihood of them getting their asking price continues to decline and can continue to decline. So there's less pressure, or there's less competition out there, and the sellers are aware of that. All the professionals know all this data. They've been tracking this as well. Consumers are entering the market during a snapshot of the market. It's not like they ride this wave year in, year out. They only jump in when the music's playing for the dance, sort of thing. And so it's kind of getting this good clarity and this understanding of kind of where we're at in the cycle, because sellers are still wanting top dollar, right? And so we don't want sellers to leave money on the table. So how do we get that home sold quickly and for top dollar while maximizing the exit, while at the same time on the buyer's foot, knowing that, hey, some of these sellers are really trying to move on and go to that next step. They're willing to negotiate an extra 10, 20, sometimes $30,000 to go ahead and have that confident, secure buyer that they know is trustworthy to get to the closing table.
Mm-hmm. Two more thoughts, and then we're going to get to questions. Here's our challenges. And if you guys are on this call or have thought about possibly selling your house or buying a new one, you understand this. Every buyer and seller right now is facing very real psychological dynamics. You got 1,000 different opinions. You are being targeted by marketers related to housing. As soon as you go to Zillow, as soon as you go to Realtor, the algorithms kick in and you start getting boo stuff coming at you. And some of it is saying that your house is about ready to lose tons of value. Some of it is saying that your house is about ready to explode in value. There's fear in the forecast every day, and we're all having to navigate it. Also, the complexity of making a move, it has gotten more complicated over the last 5 to 10 years, no doubt about it. I sold my first house by owner without a realtor years ago. It wasn't too difficult. Now for sale by owner is at its all-time historic low because of the complexity of it. And then a couple of things Tyler and I have also mentioned is that, there's a lot of people out there with a dated house trying to get a premium price, and it is not going well for them. That dated house will not get you top dollar. We have a few options on how to navigate that, but something has to be done, either adjustment in price or improvement of the property. And then for some of you guys, not for all, but there are some pockets of Gwinnett that are more acutely being affected by new construction. It's not across the board, but there are definitely pockets of it where your asset is not appreciating. In fact, it may be depreciating slightly, not because of anything you did, but because of an abundance of new construction around you. There's ways to analyze that, but that is a hurdle for some of you guys. So I know that we've talked about a lot. We've stirred up a lot. Gus, do you want to take us into Q&A and we can kick some things around that way?
Yeah, thank you for that, Jim and Tyler. I have my own questions as you were going through this. And for those of you who got the email, I sent the PDF that Jim was taking us through already in your email. If not, it's in the chat as well. You can just click and download it as well. And after the Q&A, right before the 30-minute mark, we'll do the giveaway for the Everbowls gift cards. So as you're talking through that, because we recorded a video and that was a real question that I had for you on Instagram that we put it, of you mentioned in your document the good looking ones. Is that like pertaining to the question that I asked? Like, do I have to fix everything before I sell? And then so I answer that one, and then I have another one after that. But
No, absolutely. And Tyler, you can riff off this too, but I would say the key is for most home buyers, the key phrase is move in ready. If people walk in and they see a tired kitchen, tired bathrooms, carpet that needs to be swapped out. Now, some people see opportunity, but when a buyer sees opportunity with dated things, they usually want a discount for them making the effort to fix it. That's where the seller gets like, I don't want to give the discount, but the buyer wants it. Um, but when you have stuff that's move in ready, a lot of times we can negotiate roof issues, we can negotiate furnace, HVAC, we can negotiate those type things and still get a good price if the house is move in ready and looks good, looks clean. Tyler, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about condition, right? It's price, location, and condition. And most of the time, we can't change where the home is located, but we can improve the condition that will get that top price, you know? And so it's, do you want sweat equity or do you want to buy it already done? You know, and a lot of people come from renting situations and then moving into a house. Man, if you've been through any of the rentals lately, they are so modern with the nicest cabinets, the nicest countertops, the nicest kitchens. And so that's what everyone gets used to. And then when you go and you look at the houses that are on the market, especially in a state like Georgia that's been established forever, everything just seems like it's dated and it's past its prime. And then you look at the inflated cost to buy the materials, and then you look at the inflated cost to do the service of getting installed. Well, man, you better have a team that works with a partner over and over and over so that you're not getting hit with that highest retail pricing, you know, because that contractor knows, hey, I'm only going to work with this person one time and they need this to get that house sold. Well, I can push that price way up because they're about to get this huge return on their exit. Well, we don't want our clients being taken advantage of like that. And unfortunately, that is the name of the business. Chuck in a truck or Bob the Builder already has a plan, you know, and so you want to come to the table with a plan, with the proper preparation. And you know, we all go on flights all the time, right? Do you guys know how to take a plane off or how to fly or how the engine works? No, but you trust that pilot. And so that's kind of what it is sometimes when you're hiring your professional. You want to make sure you trust who you're hiring right out of the gate so they can kind of bring you all this value while you're in the thick of it.
that's helpful. I'm afraid to ask the next question unless somebody else has a question. Feel free to jump in. But you guys keep mentioning dated. I'm afraid to ask because I'm wondering if my house is dated. So I'll ask it in real time. Mine's the year that it was built was 98. Are we looking at younger or older for something that you guys are considering dated?
Dated, good clarifying question. It's more about, um, do you have 1998 cabinets in your kitchen? Do you have the 1998 vinyl flooring in your bathroom? Do you still have the old nasty bathroom mirror that's probably chipping down at the bottom? Do you have the ceiling fan that's been there since the house was built? Like those are the things that that have that effect. You know,
Okay.
has your house been painted in on the inside or the outside recently? So there's the age of the product, which again Tyler stated so clearly. We can't control that. We can't control where it
Hmm.
is, but we can control that feeling when a buyer walks in. Of whether you've been maintained and continued improvements.
My name is Belinda, returning your call from Associated Physicians. How may I assist you?
Got her. No worries.
Hey, you do a little work, do a little call. It's all we all do it. It's fine.
No worries.
Yeah, and one
Um,
thing I would add to about
yeah.
like dates, right? There's certain things about, you know, past disclosures, right? Because like every home built prior to 1978 is going to come with a lead-based paint disclosure. Because that back then we were putting lead-based paint on homes. You know, homes built in the 90s, once you get to the mid 90s and later, most of them aren't built with the polybutane piping that was in some of the older homes that like to pop and break and create plumbing issues there. So there So just because a home might be dated doesn't mean it wasn't well built.
Mhm.
Got it. Well,
And go ahead.
oh, sorry. I wanted to be conscious of everyone's time because we did say the 30-minute mark. So I'm going to stop it right here. Jim and Tyler are going to hang for a bit after I do this next part. But again, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. Again, if you go to the chat, the download that Jim and Tyler created is there. If not, it should be in your email. If you filled out that form, I sent it about 10-15 minutes ago. And it may or may not be the reason why you're here, but here are the 5 winners for the Ever Bowls gift card. And then again, please, if you guys can let me know whether you want to pick it up where I'm at in Duluth at the co-working space, or I can mail it to you either way. So one of the winners, let's see. Oh, I think one of the winners just stepped off. I'm gonna have to give it to someone else. All right. So I have Dawn, if you're still here. Dawn, there you are. And I have Peppered. I think that's either that's your nickname or your name, Peppered. Somebody said something in the chat. Oh yeah, Peppered. There you go. Peppered, you won one of the gift cards. Please email me at hello@gwinnettbest.com. I'll put it in the chat now. Sorry. And then okay, and one of them stepped off. Q's. I don't know your name, but there you are. Q's. Please email me. Let me know how you'd like to do that. And that's 3, Chris and Miguel. So please let me know how you'd like to. Didn't even know. Yeah, Peppered, you won. So it's a $10 gift card to Ever Bowls in Hamilton Mills. And if you follow me on Instagram, I was just there last week and my son edited that video. And it's, you may or may not like the edit, but again, it was a really great place. They offered me the bowl for free just to try it out because I don't think I've ever had an acai bowl. But if you like it, that's an incredible bowl. So email me at hello@gwinnettbest.com. Dawn, Peppered, Q's, Chris, and Miguel. And again, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm gonna hop off, but Jim and Jim and Tyler are gonna be here in case you need. Or you guys have any more? What's it called? More questions. And Q's said this was very informative. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining. And then Tyler wrote something as well. So great. If you guys have any questions, Jim and Tyler are here for you guys.
Yeah, if anybody has a question about a certain part of Gwinnett related to housing or maybe your subdivision or whatever, we got a few minutes here where we can kind of drill down, a little deeper if anybody has a question. Yeah, Miguel.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just fine.
So, what areas of Gwinnett are like where like there's a lot of land or like room for growth? Obviously, it's very congested, very big county, but maybe is it like Sugar Hill or like where areas in the county are you seeing kind of like room for like building or if any? Or are you looking more like Winder, Brazelton, up there a little bit?
Are you talking like a spec home or are you talking more acreage?
Acreage.
I'd say your
What's a
best.
spec home? What's a spec home?
Sorry. A spec home would just be like a normal sized lot where just nobody's built there, third of an acre, half of an acre, and then you build a new house on it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would say, your 2 best options is going to be going further south in Gwinnett County. That's typically where there's just more ground available. As you go north, the challenge is you're pushing towards Lake Lanier, and it's just the subdivisions are going in, the townhomes are going in, the commercials going in, and so ground is a premium up there, which means it's hard to get a decent amount.
Yeah.
I'd say so. You're either going south or you're going over to Hall County, Barrow County. You're going next door. Where you can still kind of live, work, and play in Gwinnett and get all those benefits, but you'll get a little bit of the acreage access as well.
When you say south, you mean what? Like what city?
I'm talking head towards Snellville.
Oh,
Head
so I was
head
gonna
head
get
that direction. Yep. You got to get south of Lawrenceville before it kind of starts to open up.
nice.
Um, unless I would say if your budget is over $1 million, then you can start to get into that, 5 acres, 7 acres, but it's going to cost you, it's, yeah.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
Let me
Jim, I see a few more coming in on the chat.
Yeah, let me see. Okay. What are your thoughts about Duluth? Possible expansion of housing near Pleasant Hill, Peachtree Industrial. Okay, so I actually just read about that the other day. And there is, Duluth is a little funky, as you guys know. You got like some of it that is like luxury golf course-ville, and then some of it, like sometimes it's like, am I going to get shot? Like it has some bizarre feelings to it in certain little niches. So, Duluth is definitely headed more towards that. Let's call it a premium community, just all the way across the board. The small commercial, they're getting rid of as much as it can. I would say, for the macro level Gwinnett housing, that expansion is a good thing. If you live right around the corner from that, it's a good thing because your current home's about ready to go up in value. But your whole life is also getting ready to change as well, because the traffic is just gonna is gonna be whatever it's gonna be. So I would say, like most things, it's a mixed bag on that expansion, So yeah, Tyler, do you have any you may not have even seen that one yet, Tyler.
Yeah, no, I have. And what I would say is that's a pattern. If you look at the North DeKalb Mall, they're redoing that. If you look up at North Point Mall, they're redoing that. If you look up in Forsyth County, and even just look at the Avalon and the Halcyon that they've added around Alpharetta, they're realizing when they make those mixed use development improvements, it improves the real estate value of all the houses around there. Because think about it, we all don't go, when we're on the weekends or something, we all don't ideally want to drive 30 minutes or 45 minutes to go out to brunch or to lunch with a friend or a family member. And so if you have these kind of micro developments closer by, it really gets the community involved kind of right in there. And we're seeing it make some big improvements for the valuations on all the neighborhoods around there. Look, ever since 2007, 2008, everything's all about highest and best. What I mean by that is taking a specific amount of land and turning that land into highest and best use case, because we're not making any more land. We're just maximizing the land that is here. And so that's why they're having to make all these improvements. And Georgia has had an incredible growth rate since 2020. If you look at the growth of Atlanta in the state of Georgia from 2020 until 2026, and what that was already projected to be until 2030, well, that's not changing. They're not reversing that pattern. They've actually extended all the way out now to 2050. And so the values are going to keep rising in the city, and those that are going to be taking advantage of that are going to be having their asset values rise with that, and getting in that kind of path of progress of where that work is going, is going to help you grow, right? It's kind of like buying a stock or buying an ETF. You make your money like on the front end, on the buy, on the acquisition. Yeah, you realize the gain when you sell, but the wise decision is made in the front end with prior proper planning and then execution of that plan.
That's good.
Hope that was
I
helpful.
know there's a question about the Flowers Crossing neighborhood specifically. So if you're still on the call, I'll kind of give you my thoughts. So this particular part of Gwinnett, which is kind of like, south side of Lawrenceville, Five Forks, Trickham Road, Sugarloaf. You got a lot of subdivisions that were built in the 70s, 80s, 90s. You just got droves of them. A lot of the subdivisions, a lot of the new construction that's happened in there, over the last decade, lots of townhomes. You guys have seen that. So I would say, your concern about, hey, I'm hearing that maybe my subdivision isn't doing that great. We could pull the data on it and we could get it down to you would see the numbers. What I'd say, this is very common in a more established subdivision like yours, is that you're going to have a mixture of homes hitting the market, and some of them are well done, improved, cosmetically looking great. But in these subdivisions as well that were built 70s, 80s, and 90s, you're going to have a lot of dated homes that also hit the market. And so typically you'll jump on Zillow and you'll see, well this 3-bed 2-bath sold for this price, but this one sold for $70,000 more or whatever, and they're on the same street. We can pull the photos and the granular details of those kind of sales and kind of show whether the subdivision is truly going the wrong way, or whether it's just a straightforward example of you had a house with dated features and a house with updated features, and that's the price differential. And we can even chart how the subdivision is doing from an appreciation. So, if you want us to dig into that, we totally can. We just follow up with us. We just need an address or something like that.
Then I would also say you're asking about buyers and the ratio of rentals in the neighborhood before buying. That's a hard thing to source. That's a really hard thing to source and actually know that, which is why single family detached homes are actually better investments than HOAs and condos, because they can source that in condos. There's a board that oversees that and controls how many permits are permitted, and it's regulated and controlled. Whereas it's not necessarily a top of mind thing. You've got to do a lot of digging and a lot of research to kind of know kind of the ratio of rentals in a neighborhood. Or you talk to a neighbor, because the neighbor will tell you, oh, that person rents, that person rents, that person owns, and they know. And owners want to live around other owners, and
Yes.
so there's certainly value to that. Do they ask about it? Some do. Yes. Some don't. So that's a great question to ask. But really, it's kind of boots on the ground. It's literally getting out there, driving through the neighborhood, and stopping and asking a neighbor as they're pulling into the driveway and checking their mail. Hey, quick question: do you like living here? Yeah, I love it. Oh, great. How long have you been living here? Can you tell me a little bit about it? Is it fully owned neighborhood, or do you see a lot of landlords and tenants in here, and you kind of get a better feel for it?
It's good. Okay, I see we got 2 questions about Buford. I can hit those because I'm literally just a couple of minutes from here. So first one, the Buford schools, Buford City Schools. We'll start with that one. I think that's Peppard's question. So you got 2 things going on. You got self-employed income, which is a big question. And then you got just navigating, that whole transition. So I'd say, in a situation with a transition, Tyler and I almost always advise you got to get the right lender in from the beginning, because the lender actually helps to navigate, or I should say this, the lender should be helping you to navigate your transition as a strategic advisor along with an agent. You don't want just some person who can get you, quote, pre-approved. In today's climate, you need a financial advisor who's going to be the person that does your loan. I will say, Tyler and I are both, in the self-employment world. We got a great lender we can get you in touch with that really is that strategist that can walk you through the 2, 3, 4 different paths that you would have. Once your financial kind of strategy is mapped out, then that really clarifies the steps that you need to take in regards to, do I sell now? Do I buy first? How does that work? So what we typically experience is that a lot of folks are just overwhelmed at, how do I pull this off? The good news is that the how can be mapped out step by step. And then it empowers you as the homeowner to really kind of go, okay, I feel comfortable with this path. I definitely don't want to do that path. And it kind of pulls these things out of the sky and gets it really granular. And, I mean, Tyler and I, our rule is you got to be able to sleep at night with whatever transition you're going to take. You got to be able to sleep at night. But that being said, if you kind of already know that you need to be somewhere else, you're going to sleep better if you start taking action steps and get that strategic financial advisor, your lender, and somebody who can help you navigate those steps. Beaufort City Schools, always top demand. You're definitely going to sell there. It really just comes down to pricing it right. And then I know there's another Buford question here from Belinda about Mall of Georgia. I think, Belinda, my question for you would be, are you in one of the townhomes by the Mall of Georgia? Or are you in one of the more established subdivisions, one of the non-HOA subdivisions that was built? I think a little clarity, because you're off of Rock Springs Road, my assumption is that it's in one of the non-HOA subdivisions. I would say those are in decent demand because it's affordable housing, great price points. As long as you're not one of the dated homes in there, if you're dated in there, the person who wants to buy you is an investor that turns it into a rental. If you're looking good, you can definitely find a family that doesn't have to be in Beaufort City Schools and is fine with a partnering school district. So yeah, I actually have a couple of friends who live right in one of those subdivisions, and homes sell very well in there. But there is some spread when you get off Rock Springs Road. There is a how do I put this? There's a diversity of subdivisions. So if we would drill down to know exactly which one, we could really help you to assess the health of your specific subdivision. And then Brookwood. Okay, Spring Crossing. Belinda, we can follow up with you on that. We can dig into that. Tyler, do you have any other comments? I'm gonna look one thing up here on this Brookwood Street question. Unfortunately, I can't see your name. I just see iPhone 5. So iPhone 5.
No, that was all very helpful. I appreciate you sharing everything. This has been very helpful. This has been great questions. This information and these questions are help drill down so that we have a better process when it's actually decision making time, so that you are very informed on next steps. So we appreciate everybody joining us here today.
So here's how I would describe Brookwood High School is from a buyer, like we have not worked with buyers and sellers where it has a bad reputation. But it's one of those, it's never listed in the, ooh, I want to move there because of it, right? So I would say it's kind of somewhere in between. I don't think but I'll make this clear. I don't think it's hurting you in any way, shape, or form. It's not hurting you. But it's one of those, is it going to put a premium on your house like a Beaufort City Schools, or like a Grayson would? It's not, but it's definitely not hurting you. Okay, I just want to make sure, did we get to all the questions? Let's see. Okay, Don, you're asking me about Beaufort, Mulberry area. Sell the next couple of years. What can you expect from investment buyers? Okay, so I would say, in a situation where an investor is buying your house, it's straightforward. It's not personal. It's not emotional. It just straight comes down to the numbers. And the numbers are just simply determined by how much can they rent it for and how much work needs to go into this house to make it rent ready. That being said, we have worked with several sellers where there's just so much going on in their life. Because a lot of time, because you got to realize this, a lot of times people have to sell. It's not, they don't want to, they have to. Something's happened. Sickness, death, divorce, psychological condition. They can't keep up with the house. Just all the stuff. And unfortunately, Tyler and I have found ourselves at the dining room table with many folks where it's not one of those things, but it's a cocktail of those things that all kind of come together. It's not just one. When that happens, and Don, I don't know anything about you, so this may not be your situation at all. I'm just taking a total rabbit trail here. When that happens, an investor that comes in and takes the home over, honestly, is a gift that allows the individual or the family to move forward in their life. And so in those situations, it really becomes about who's going to be a credible buyer investor that's going to get the deal done. A lot of the billboards, and this is kind of a cautionary tale, a lot of the billboards that you see that say, buy your house for cash, buy your house now, what they're going to do is they're going to give you an offer. It is a real offer, but they are just going to sell that position to somebody else. And they're kind of an in-between person looking to tie your house up with a contract and then find a buyer for it. It's much better to find an actual, let's call it local investor who lives in the area, that's a real person with a real address and a real name and has real money. That's the key, real money to come in and buy your house. Two things, you'll typically net a little bit more and your transition will go a little bit better. So whenever Tyler and I are in the listing process, we try and keep those, buy your house for cash folks. We're like, we don't want to work with you guys. We have other investors that can get the job done. We know their names, they're reputable, etc. I guess we got one more question from iPhone 5 and then we can wrap. You guys are great. As for the updating, other than fresh paint, top 5 things. Tyler, you're even better at this than I am, so I definitely want you to comment on it in regards to the top 5 things. How I would summarize it is, when I'm doing an initial walkthrough, and I'd say, it would be helpful, like if I came to your house in its current condition and took a look at where it's at, I could give you some perspective on what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. But generally speaking, it's got to feel clean. I'd say if there's one word that I'm always shooting for, it's, does it feel clean? And if there's something, the second thing is I'm trying to avoid it feeling tired. Now, I know that didn't really answer your question. It's because Tyler's much better at this than I am on this point. But what I look for is when I walk in, does the house feel clean? Does it feel alive? Does it have a good positive feeling? And then the ways that we correct that is, what do we paint? What do we not paint? Maybe we replace a countertop. Maybe we don't. Maybe we swap out light fixtures. Maybe we don't. Maybe we change out a sliding glass door that's nasty and doesn't work well anymore. Maybe we don't. Maybe we paint the front door. Maybe we don't. Tyler, you can chime in and then we can wrap.
Yeah, no, that was spot on and correct answers. And it depends on someone's budget, right? Because if we're trying to maximize the exit with reducing the budget, well, it's going to be what you were just talking about: lighting, improving light fixtures. Lighting is huge for homes. Hardware and plumbing fixtures, right? Door handles in the kitchen cabinets. If you're not going to change the cabinet, change the handle so it doesn't look so dated. Or plumbing fixtures just in the bathrooms. Window treatments and other things, from like flooring transitions and like Even just like sprucing it up with some rugs and things if you've got bad spots on the floor, as well as cleaning up the property because you want to just have remove any visual clutter there. Now those are inexpensive ways to kind of just improve the value of the home, but some other options would be if you've got a bigger budget, well, it's starting with the windows because windows are expensive and it's the one thing that can change the home, how it looks from the inside and the outside.
Yeah. Nope.
To replace windows, as well as the roof. Everyone's insurance costs based on the repair cost of that. And then obviously things like exterior paint, interior paint. Sometimes we see a lot of buyers that are improving, putting a new front door, really staple front door, and even updating the garage door just so they look new and they look modern. And then painting that door a specific color so that it kind of helps pop. And then obviously landscaping and exterior hardscapes, because that's the first thing you see when you pull up to the property. So you want to make sure you've done your landscaping. You want to make sure you've got some flowers and things out. You want to make sure the hedges are trimmed and things of that nature so that you're really just kind of giving a full total image, because people don't have an idea of what it's like to live in your house. They're only making a snapshot decision on that view. So you want to make sure that you're really hitting them with all the potential positives that you can when they're coming for that walkthrough.
See, I told you he was better at this piece of it than I am for sure. Now, Tyler just has a great eye for walking in and helping people to maximize the spend, to really get that house sold. It just, I'm pretty good. Tyler's really good, so. Belinda, great question. How can we keep in touch? Our information is on the back of that PDF. And I think that we gave, I think Gus is going to make sure that you get that as well. And again, we could easily just do a quick strategy meeting with you about your property, about what your options are, as you kind of map out where your life is going. So very good.
Sorry, real quick before we get off, I didn't want to intrude or anything.
No, you're good.
But I'm in Buford as well. I've been a professional real estate photographer for about 5 years. Could I send my portfolio to you guys via email
Hey,
or
come
text
on,
message
man.
or anything?
Yeah, you bet.
What's best, text or email?
Oh, either one. Yeah, I mean,
Same
probably
email.
email because that way I definitely won't lose it.
I got you. Thanks so much, y'all. I appreciate it. It's very informative. This has been really good, and it's put some language to some of the stuff that I've been seeing. So yeah.
Very good. All right, Belinda and iPhone 5, we appreciate you. Have a good one.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.